Hello there and welcome to another video. As usual, my name is Jeffrey. Please, this is a channel where we talk about smartphones. I know lots of people only watch the guys that want to review the newest and the latest, and nobody actually wants to come and tell you how to get the best out of your phone. That's why I created this channel. Basically, I think as far as I can tell, I am the only one in this niche. I'm the only one you'd find. So if you want to get the best out of your phone, like, subscribe, tell your friends, tell your family members, tell your enemies. Like, if you want your phone to do well, if you want to know how to get best out of your phone, subscribe to Inquisitive Universe. So let's get started. Now, I am a big advocate of people learning specs. I am. I know there are lots of people who argue against specs and who tell you that specs are just rubbish stats on paper, that you have to get the phone in hand first and operate it and then see one or two things and then make a decision subjectively. No, actually, I feel. I don't even feel, I know. And how do I know? I know because specs are an industry standard, and the companies that actually make these devices know that specs are important. It's why they try to hide specs, misrepresent specs, or do what I like to call spec padding. Now, before even making this video, I actually went and I made a Google search and I did not find that term anywhere. So I don't even know if this is actually going to be good for SEO. I don't know, but I call it spec padding, right? Now, padding, according to the English dictionary, means when you add words, to a material to make it look more superfluous than it actually is. Basically, that's spec padding. Like you just let's add so that add more Maggi, add more seasoning, like so the soup will be sweet. It's actually kind of like an issue. Companies know that specs are important, and that's why they will pad specs for you that do not understand how specs work. So let's get started. Let's get into the video. Now, one of the very many ways that companies pad specs is packing in a bunch of absolutely useless camera sensors on the back of the camera. Why? Because people love numbers, and so I have legit seen somebody turn down a Google Pixel, right? A Google Pixel 4 to pick up, let me not mention the name of the company, but we know them. If you're watching this video, you probably already know company that has four camera lenses or 4 camera sensors at the back, of which one of them is a VGA video camera. God. Smartphone subscribers would kill me, honestly. They would. I don't. I'm sitting down in an empty room laughing to myself to tell you that how much this is so weird that somebody would turn on a Google Pixel 4 and then pick up a phone from a certain company that usually puts 4 useless. Okay, they're not exactly all useless. The main one actually does work. The main camera actually does work, but a bunch of useless sensors that nobody ever actually, most of the people who won't buy it because I want to buy this one because this one has 4 camera, this one only has 1, end up not even using them. Some of them do not even work. Like one of their older phones, you trying to switch modes, and like I put a finger behind the lens and there was no sign that there was actually a finger there. Like some of these people that pack lots of sensors or lenses on the back of their phone, some of these lenses don't even work. But does the average consumer know this? No. All they know is that this one has 4 lenses on the back, this one has 1, so I'm going to pick the one with 4. And of all these lenses, the one that is the most grievous of them all, I can actually forgive like depth sensors, right? I can actually forgive depth sensors and macro cameras because 2MP macro, 5MP macro, because I have a 5MP macro on this one, and that's how I take my macro shots mostly, even though I have a clip-on macro lens. But the macro still like does very well for me. I can forgive a 2MP macro, I can forgive a depth sensor, but I cannot forgive that VGA camera. It's actually useless, and there's absolutely no reason why that should be on it. There's no point. Just let people know that you have a triple camera setup or a dual camera setup. What's the use of the VGA? It's useless, and so people are celebrating it. It's specs padding gone wild. Another one is like extended RAM. That's the new one. Extended RAM, just extended RAM disc. You see one of their new phones. Many of them are doing it now. A 2 gig RAM device plus 2 gig RAM extended memory, 4 gig. Lies. Actually, whatever limitations that the 2 gig RAM has, even without the extended RAM, it puts the extended RAM and then throw it in. It is still going to be the same limitations. Nothing is going to change. The only thing that will happen now is that instead of the phone with the 2 gig RAM, obviously to kill apps and then remove them from RAM, it will don't carry it and then save it with the extended RAM, so that it does not have to kill off apps, because the process of actually fetching an app from your internal storage and then getting into the RAM and then loading it up actually costs a lot of system resources, especially battery and CPU bandwidth. So the CPU bandwidth and battery that would be wasted, it's just better that you remove it from the main RAM and then keeps it in the extended RAM until it is needed. But whatever limitations that 2 gig RAM has remains the same limitations. Nothing changed. Another spec that they pad also is RAM over 8 gig. There's really no need. Even 8 gig is a stretch, and that's like for power users, right? Power users who do video editing, hefty tasks like video editing and heavy gaming out of their phone. But other than that, anything over 8 gig RAM is it's overkill. It's useless at this point. Then devices too that are over 128, people could argue that, but really 256 gig, anything more than that, spec padding. Then voice assistants. Seriously, every device comes with Google Assistant, and Google Assistant is actually better than Siri. But that's two different ecosystems. On Android you've got Google Assistant, on the iPhone you've got Siri. Why are people putting in the extra voice assistant? Most Samsung users will tell you that Bixby is nonsense, Bixby is useless, right? And on top of that, one company brought Ella, and Ella has been forgotten because it was a big talking point at their launch. Ella this, Ella that, Ella this. Their YouTubers went to town. Oh, we want to test Ella. Oh, we want to test Ella. And Ella has died a natural death. Nobody's talking about Ella anymore. Right. Refresh rates over 120 hertz. And that's a stretch. I'm stretching it over 90 hertz actually, but I'm stretching it to 120 hertz. Why would you want a refresh rate over 120 hertz? Seriously, what are the benefits? Over 120 hertz, the human eye cannot really tell how, like the smoothness and all that. The human eye cannot really tell. So how many games actually, most mobile games, 60 fps is even a stretch for them, not to talk about 90 fps to match with the 90 hertz. 120 fps and it's not a PC. But specs, people want specs and specs and specs. So let them, there we go. Moon mode. Another useless spec. The moon mode. It's another very, very useless spec. And I'm actually glad that most people are starting to expose these companies, that most of the time this so-called moon mode is actually like the ISP or the image software slapping a picture of a moon over the picture and then sending it back to you and say, there's your moon mode, son. We are celebrating, we got moon mode. Some of them cannot even, we know the company I'm talking about, some of them cannot even do the moon mode properly. If you see the original moon mode shots from the first reviews, I was like, that's bad. Renaming pre-existing features. Oh, super night macro, super night best. Like, why would you rename existing features to make it seem as though it's something new when it's not? And lots of subscribers, they fall for this. They fall for renaming. I mean, dual core laser focus, basically just autofocus. Which one is dual core laser focus? And I say specs are important, but not useless specs. not rubbish specs, because I don't know, the video I made about specs did not really get like but people watched it, did not get as much traction as I would like, but people watched it, so nobody go and say that Jeff advocates for specs. No, they are important specs. The four most important ones, I always say it: SoC, batteries, cameras, display. Those are the four most important ones that you should be looking at. And even at that, there's also software that you should be checking to see how well optimized the software is to run all of these components together. But those are the most important ones that you should be looking at on any device. The ones I've mentioned here, really they're nonsense specs. Never pay attention to them. And with that, we've come to the end of this video, and I will be signing out. I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.